I'm Takeshi and you're watching Kojima Racing. So I was telling you guys I was going to do a walk around on my son's 88 Mustang GT, and that was quite a while ago now, so once again I gotta apologize for not making any kind of content for quite a while, but I actually started getting paid for making short format videos that on Facebook Reels. So I've been kind of focusing on that lately, and haven't been making a lot of the long format videos. So I'm going to try to get back into making the long format videos. But if you haven't already, go over to Facebook, look up Kojima Racing on Facebook, like and follow the page, and watch all the short format stuff. And then all the long format stuff will still be here on YouTube. My son's project was this 88 Mustang GT, and he really hasn't decided on a name or wanted to name the car, so I'm going to call it Project BluFord GT. Just a little tip of the hat to Smokey and the Bandit. So but regardless, if you know, you know there. But the project's basically done, and so I'll just do a walk around on the car, and we'll talk about the different things that we did or had to do to it. And so for starters, this car was actually gifted to me. You know, I run my own pest control business, which we'll do a walk around on that truck later on my service truck. But I used to work for a company, one of the major companies doing pest control, and this car, I found out about it through one of my customers. Basically, he had had me doing pest control services at his mother's house, and he was basically paying for it. And one day he said he wanted to have the garage treated, so I met him over there, and he opened up the garage, and I went in to spray the inside of the garage, and saw this car sitting in there. And I said, oh wow, that's nice. You know, I have a Fox Body Mustang myself, and you know, that's a real nice car. And he says, oh well, no, it belongs to my mother, and she bought it brand new, and that's all she'll drive, and she refuses to drive anything else. And you know, they were trying to get her out of the car for a long time into something newer, because they were concerned about it breaking down or not really having great visibility, or you know, her getting in an accident in it or something of that nature. But we had a conversation about the car, and you know, continued to do the service, and that's pretty much where it ended. I left that company and started my own business, probably about a year after that, and lost contact with the gentleman. And then basically a couple of years ago, when my son was about to get his driver's license, I got an email to my business account for my pest control business from this gentleman, and I thought that it was him wanting to start backup service because he had found that I was in business for myself. And so he had sent me an email, and he says, hey, you remember me? I said, well, you know, I sent a message back. I said, sure. And he says, you know, well, can you call me? And so he sent me his phone number, and I called the gentleman, and expecting, like I said, to end up doing pest control services. And the gentleman comes back at me, and he says, hey, you remember that 88 Mustang GT of my mother's that you saw in the garage? And I said, well, sure I do. And he says, well, you know, she passed away last year, and I wanted you to have the car. And you know, I was utterly shocked about that, and you know, I could hardly contain my excitement about, you know, getting this car. And then he says, well, slow down, you know, because I'm sure he kind of perceived how excited I was. And he says, she actually got in a fender bender, and the car has been parked for probably about 7 years. And so, and you'll need a trailer to pick it up. So I was a little dismayed about that. But, you know, nonetheless, you know, even if I couldn't make the car good again, you know, it's a lot of parts. And then I do have, like I said, a Fox Body Mustang. And so I got a trailer, went out and picked up the car, and, you know, the front was a little bit mangled. The bumper cover had a tear in it, and the hood wouldn't shut, and it was a little bit mangled up. And so basically I put the car on a trailer and towed it back to my house. So yeah, got the car back to the house, trailered it back to the house, and you know, I popped the hood and we got to looking at the under hood section, and it appeared that the shock towers were still in the right place. There was a actually, which I'll show you, there's a Les Schwab sticker on the brake master cylinder, because like he had said, the car had been parked for a very long time. So I don't know if you can read that, but it had the brakes done right before it was parked. So 7/18 of 2013. We still got to clean up the engine bay a little bit, but 7/18 of 2013, and then the car had basically been parked because it had gotten in a fender bender, and she wasn't allowed to drive it after that. And so what had happened, it wasn't even her fault. The lady had pulled up to a intersection and stopped, and there was an accident in the intersection. Large heavy-duty truck came and clipped the front end just right on the bumper cover. So there was a hole in the bumper cover here, and it jumped up and gouged the hood, broken out some of the lights, and just kind of knocked the front end over. And so, but it wasn't her fault. You know, she was probably a pretty good driver, although the vehicle has obviously been in a few little fender benders, had, you know, dinged up stuff all around it. Back bumper cover was cracked, and the exhaust was pushed up underneath, and some other little details. But still, you know, this car is literally the one owner little lady car that you hear about that, you know, aren't really supposed to exist, or is supposed to be kind of a rare kind of deal. And so so basically, seeing that the shock towers seemed to be where they were supposed to be, I took the car over to my fire department, and I had taken the driving lights out of it. And so we had an old engine that had a winch on it. An old Wildland engine had a winch on it. And so I parked the car up against the curb, and I pulled out the winch cable and wrapped it around the bumper struts through the fog light opening. And I started winching on the car, and I winched it up against the curb and started tugging on the front end, and then the hood just dropped in and shut. And just like that, hood dropped in and shut, and everything seemed pretty well aligned. And so so took it out for a drive, and it ran just fine. I mean, car was in pretty good mechanical condition. And so I decided that this would be my son's car, and basically made him do some work for me to earn it. And then, of course, he's also been instrumental in doing the work on the car to make it to, you know, kind of restore it and make sure it's in good mechanical running order again. There's been some little issues here and there. I mean, like, you know, it's an old car. It's a 34 some odd year old car, and so that's to be expected, especially when the car sat for so long in a garage. So, I mean, you know, kind of a barn find, I guess you could say. But yeah, we replaced the alternator. Air conditioning on this car is kind of a funky deal, because the dealer that she ordered it from was probably a little bit unscrupulous. So what they were doing was they were ordering GT cars with crank windows and no air conditioning. And then what they would do is they would put a dealer installed air conditioning on it because they could do it for less money, and they would have a larger margin on the cars that they sold. So it's got a dealer installed air conditioning system, which was a complete nightmare to set up on this car, especially because it was, you know, R12 era air conditioning, and you know, there was no part number or anything for me to go off of. So basically I had to get online and find an air conditioner compressor that looked like it was the same architecture as the air conditioning compressor that was dealer installed on the car. So we'll go back under the hood and I shut it, but and show you that compressor. So yeah, here's our compressor. And so when I went to put it on the car, I noticed that the compressor actually, even though it says it's for R134, it has the old R12 type fittings on it. And this dealer installed air conditioning system doesn't have an orifice tube, and it does not have service fittings on it for you to fill it. So it was designed to be filled through the compressor anyway. So we just went ahead and made sure that there was no metal shavings or anything in it from the prior air conditioning compressor, because it had seized, and it appears that it had seized externally instead of internally. So so it did not pollute the system, and put the compressor on, and we just charged it with R134, and it works just fine. So that all worked out pretty good. It's kind of interesting. The system has aircraft clamps on it instead of the you know, typical high pressure fittings that you find on air conditioning systems. So it's kind of different, but we were able to make it work. Replace the idle air bypass valve and alternator, and just, you know, mechanical doodads here and there. Of course, put a red top battery in it. Just some different things, but ultimately we replaced all the front body panels because they were a little bit wavy, and they also had some Bondo in them from previous little fender benders that the lady had gotten into. So there's the hood, but yeah, the hood's all warped and the front edge lip of it is destroyed, as well as some parts here. Here's the where the lug nuts on the truck that hit the car actually tore out some of the bumper cover and whatnot. But replaced all those parts, and then basically took it to one of my son's friends' dad that owns his own paint shop, and he did all the paint work to it to make it complete. And my son striped it, and you know, I bought new tires for it, which were almost impossible to get because this has the original 15-inch wheels on it, which practically nobody makes 15-inch tires anymore, especially not in the size for the old muscle cars, 225 60 15s, which were pretty common at the time. But now there's like 3 companies that make tires for them. These are Les Schwab tires. They're Thunder Mach 1s. Seem like a decent tire, but you know, my son just really likes the retro styling of this car from the 1980s, and so he wanted to keep it all factory stock. The interior was in really great shape because, like I said before, it's a little old lady's car. So it's got the gray plaid style sport seats in it, which will give you a little better view of that here. And you know, we did put in the cup holder console, got that from late model restoration. So but yeah, it's an all original, one owner little old lady Mustang GT. And so now it's my son's car. So we finished the project basically the other night, and so he's off to college here in a couple weeks, and this is going to be his ride. And you know, we're pretty proud of the car, and you know, all the work that we've put into it to make it basically, you know, restored it to its late 1980s condition with the factory, you know, two-tone paint with the stripe and the trim. And so there you have it. So that's the walk around and basically the finished project of BluFord GT video. Okay, finishing touch. Looks good. Great. I think it needs to move a little farther forward.
Yeah.
Is it even?
Looks like it.
All right, push it on. Finishing touches on your car.
Okay.
Good job. Now it's a real 5.0. Real 5.0. All right, fantastic. That is a finished project. All right.